but another one.
Good evening, everybody. It is 5:03. Let's go ahead and get started. First off, please rise as Mayor Pro Tem Judy Morales leads us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Chief of Staff Gloria Elder.
Join me, please. Father, we come to you with thanksgiving for all your blessings that you have bestowed on us each day. Help us look to Jesus, our overcomer, to find strength in him as we go about this day. Help us to remember you have not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Satan may come to steal and destroy, but you have come so that we might have life and life more abundantly. You are our protector and defender. In you we will put our trust. No weapon formed against us will prosper. We take refuge in you and we exalt you. So today, Father, we give you our worries, our fears, and every struggle, knowing that you are there with each of us with your loving heart. Let us do what will honor and please you so that you will be glorified. And Lord, we lift up our hurting country to you for our blessings today. We ask that you continue to have your hand on this nation and that leaders are godly examples to all. Bless all leaders, both nationally and locally, our mayor, our city's council, our city staff, with the wisdom to guide us in the right direction that will bring peace and harmony in our community. We pray for those who are hurting or lonely today, that you will comfort them. We pray for those who are ill, that you will heal them, especially those who are still suffering from the coronavirus and other illnesses. Give blessings and protection to all the first responders and doctors, nurses, police, firemen, and all those who have worked to help and give comfort to those who are hurting. We pray that our minds and hearts will not be shaken by circumstances, but that we will lean hard into your presence, into your peace, your power, and your love. Thank you, Father, for being our hope and our strength today. We thank and love you. Yes, all this in the most precious name of Jesus. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies, thank you very much. Moving on to the public comment section of the meeting. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may do so. We ask that you please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please keep those comments to 3 minutes, and no discussion or final action will take place tonight. We do have Ms. Bobby Thompson. Ms. Thompson, how are you, ma'am?
I'm just gonna say a little bit, but it's gonna be quick. I'm up here talking about this lot on Martin Luther King. It needs mowing. That grass is almost 6 feet tall. I know it's been raining, but there's also a lot in the 800 block of South Henderson Street that needs mowing before you get to our mailbox. And the grass is growing from the lot onto the street. You can't hardly drive down the streets without running over grass, tall weeds. And it's just something needs to be done about that. Thank you.
You, Ms. Thompson. Item 3 was a discussion regarding city laws for dog attacks. We had someone that wanted to come and speak on that. She has not shown up tonight. I think from talking with the city attorney, she got the answer that she needed. So we'll move on to item number 4, which is a discussion regarding the following by Ms. Zoe Grant, reconsideration of the CDBG funding. stormwater runoff located at 2813 North 12th, Knob Creek cleanup, and the budget for district champions. Ms. Grant.
Zoe Grant, 712 South 32nd Street. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak again. I know last meeting 2 weeks ago, we talked about a certain amount being pulled back from the CDBG funds. Not knowing that amount, I really can't continue with that particular request that I was going to ask for. But I do want to state that I am fully in support of the enrichment center that will be going in on MLK. And so that's all I want to put on that one, since I don't have my full amount of information on the amount that was pulled back from the CDBG funds. So the next item is the 2813 North 12th Street. A home was purchased by Stephen Shaw in 2005. In 2017, he applied for a grant, which he received, and he was put on the news 25, showing that he received this funding. However, he did not receive the funding, and today still his yard fills up like a lake. We have gone to the city. We have, through Nancy, gone through Public Works to get this rectified. Let me paint a picture of what his house looks like. So he's on 12th Street, which is running parallel with the railroad tracks. So when the railroad track is there, you have an inlet that is at the corner of his lot that has no other pipes coming into it, but it collects all of that area and it goes to the back of his lot, which is, there is an outlet. But the outlet does not reach the culvert that goes underneath the railroad tracks. So you're building a dam. And so every rainstorm, since even before 2017, I met him in 2019. He has a lake. He has no grass in his yard because it's just a lake. You can see the line of the water line at the back of his fence. Recently, they restored the sewer in the back of that lot. And I asked if, since they're digging the ground already, if they can regrade his lot, as all of the neighboring streets are draining into his lot. So what we have is a plan that was put in 1976, an infrastructure that is failing. Now, this is just Mr. Shaw's house, and then you have your neighboring houses, which is next to the culvert that we're trying to get water to drain to. For $4,200, we were quoted to get a French drain, to get that water drained over to that culvert. That money that he could have received in 2017 could have saved him a lot of heartache. He has had foundation issues, plumbing issues. And unfortunately, he's not here today because he's working at the funeral home. He doesn't get off till 6. But I'd hate for that video to get back out to show that he was awarded funding and not received the funding. The city of Temple receives a lot of grant money, and it would behoove us to get it together and not let this video get out to anybody. All he's asking for is a dry piece of land on a property that he purchased in 2005. It doesn't take much. We can get a backhoe out there. Zoe Wings can get a backhoe out there. But we need additional funding to get that pipe in there, to get that going to the right direction. His name is Stephen Shaw, 2813 North 12th Street. And then let me say that I love the city of Temple. I moved here from Colorado in 2016. And a lot of people ask me, why am I here in Temple? I love Temple. It's laid back. It's almost country-like. And I came from a big city, so I love it. And so I'm loving the plans that are being made, the district neighborhoods. I believe we've done 8 so far. We're working on 8, the 8th one. And there's 10 more to go. Well, I'm the Crestview District Neighborhood Champion. And I'm not sure if there's other district champions at this moment, but I'm trying to be proactive in my area. And I'm still very excited to serve in that capacity. My area goes from Avenue H down towards Knob Creek. And then from the railroad east, slightly past 40th Street. We have approximately 776 houses or land in that area, to include businesses, churches, rental properties, and many homeowners who still live there in that area from when they grew up, and many homesteads. For many, it's a fond memory of living in Crestview. The neighborhood district is not to be confused with the neighborhood work or neighborhood watch, but includes socializing, getting to know your neighbors, assisting and caring for those who are disabled and senior citizens, and keeping our kids safe. Over the last couple of years, more than $10 million has been invested in that Crestview neighborhood district, from the Lee Crosley Veterans Development, Meredith Dunbar Early Childhood Academy renovation, Renata Square Apartments. Renata means new rebirth, how appropriate. That was the purchase and renovation. Now that was formerly known as Wayman Manor. So most people, we still have to say Wayman Manor and they'll get it. Huge improvements happening over there, including the Promise House, which is starting construction. The Unincluded Club, an urban farm, certified wildlife habitat, certified in the city of Temple. This is great things. Teaching families farming and a haven for learning opportunities. Millions more will be poured into that area by nonprofits and business owners over the next couple of years, because we believe in the promises of promoting a healthy, thriving, and safe neighborhood as it once was, and it will be again. Our plan before COVID was to have morale building, such as yard of the month, and we partnered with the Housing Coalition to do porch of the month and door of the month, because they don't have the yards. And so we're excited about that. But the problem is we're working on communication to those 776 homes. So we're given a title to help the districts, but we're not given a budget. So to reach those homes, we'd have to go house to house instead of doing a bulk mailing, to be able to do those things and to encourage people by giving them prizes for that yard or door of the month. In 2019, we had a community fest, Crestview Community Fest, which was sponsored by Zoe's Wings Foundation. So I'm asking for the city, not just for the Crestview District champions, but all the district champions, if we could have a budget so that we can do our job and so that we can help you do your job even better. So the last item that I had, and I do want to acknowledge Mr. Shaw did walk in, so I would like him to come up and talk about that. But my last item I am removing because I have understand that the problem is solved, and that was Knob Creek. I believe there was feces coming up out of the water once one of the sewer pipes had some issues. And so there was feces when it was raining, it was washing it back up onto the streets. And I believe that is being resolved. I talked to Mr. Gilmore, so I'm happy to know that. So I will withdraw that. But I would like Mr. Shaw, if you could please. You can state your name and address for the record.
My name is Stephen Shaw, and I live at 2813 North 12th Street in Temple. And I am basically here to speak on a matter of flooding, my home flooding. I've been to the mayor, I've spoken to the city manager. I've spoken with everyone that was available to talk to, even the city itself, to try to rectify it. Because when it rains, actually, the water that comes in misses the drain, which was set in the wrong place to start off with. So my house becomes a lake, literally a lake. And I have the documentation, pictures, videos, and everything. And what it's doing is washing my foundation. Nothing more that I can do. Nothing I can do. Save my properties. So I'm asking for help some kind of way. I was on the waiting list. I was on this grant that came out in 2017, which I was approved. And I've been waiting since 2017, which they even had me on the news stating what this grant would do to help me out. And from 2017 up till now, it's been absolutely nothing done. But I'm continuing to get all of this water that's working its way through my backyard, through my front, and literally, it's not a pond, it's almost a lake. If you see it, you'll understand it better than my words. So I'm asking for the city or somebody. I pay taxes. I've always paid my taxes. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm doing everything I can for the community itself. All I'm asking to do is, where the city did not take care of the proper drainage problem, is to help me keep my house from my foundation intact, keep my house from falling apart, cracks in the walls. I had to get all of those things fixed, all of them. And it was quite a bit of money. And it's no need to do it because it's going to continue to happen because I'm not getting the water stopping where it's coming onto the property. And it's really horrible. It's really horrible. I had a dog that almost drowned. I had just barely saved him from drowning from the night it rained and the water was up and his nose was up. And he was just keep him drowning. I fell out in the water and almost had to swim to get him out in my own backyard. So it's just extremely too much water. And like I said, it's not my fault. It's not like I did anything to cause this. The city, that when the city gave the permit for my home to be built, they must have not policed the permit because they said it was a little lower than it should have been. Well, if they gave them a permit, then they should be responsible for giving the permit to let them build that way. I didn't have it built, but it's too low and it misses the gutter. The gutter is about 25 feet below where it needs to be. I'm up this far, so it never reaches the gutter. It jumps the curb and comes all over my property, and I have a big flood. That's the problem that I've been having for 15 years. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. I'm just asking for help. That's all I'm asking for is help. The city had done what they're supposed to do, this would not be an issue. It's not a hard fix. If they would only just take the drainage and move it back up where the water comes in, it would catch the flow of water. But it's not. I'm catching all of it. And it's destroying my home. That's the only place I have to live. Only place I have to live. Sometimes I pay taxes, I pay my taxes, all paid on time. All I'm asking for the city is to do what's right to do, what you would want done if it was your home. With that, I yield.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Shaw, right here.
Okay.
Have you, has the city reached out to you lately regarding verification of your earnings? And the reason why I ask is repairs like this are made through a program called Community Development Block Grants.
Mhm.
And those are, the city is restricted how those funds can be spent to what are called, low income
Right.
recipients. And so in order to move forward with the repair of your home using CDBG funds, we're going to need you, the city is going to need you to verify your income to them. And I believe that's what they're waiting on.
And I have verified my earnings, show you what I get, what have you. And then every time I go back, it's something different. This 1 month, 6 months of this, that. I mean, all of this stuff. And actually, I don't even know why I should be, for the simple reason this This is not my fault. For me to have to go through all of this is not my fault. And I have the documentation from 2017 when I first got started. I have all the paperwork showing that everything was checked, everything was in order. And then when I came back, everybody was gone. Everybody got fired. They had to get somebody else. It's always something different each time I come. So, every time I come, it's a different, whatever I give them, it's different. It's always something afterwards, after the fact.
Okay.
So I don't know what more. I mean, I've given, and I still get nothing at the end of the day.
Okay.
Like I said, from 2017 to now, and I can show you the proof from that.
Okay.
And I'll show you the checklist of everything that I turned in, everything, and it was all good. Now the tables have turned and things have changed. So every time it changes, I have to change it. It's just more than what I can do.
Okay.
That's how, it is right now. And I do appreciate you all giving me a chance and opportunity to say something. I had to rush out. I serve the community here at the funeral home. And I just try to do everything I can for the city. I just ask the city to help me where I can't help myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. All right, moving on to item number 3 is the final public hearing to consider adopting a resolution approving the Community Development Block Grant 2021-2022 Annual Action Plan and Budget, including the funding recommendations. Ms. Glover or Ms. Chapone? Chapane, am I saying that right? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We presented the annual action plan in its entirety at the July 1st council meeting. We have the presentation ready. You would like for me to present it again, or we can start the second public hearing for comments and questions. Completely up to you.
Very good. Council, do you need the presentation again? Then, thank you, ma'am. Then at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. We ask that you please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform. There's no one on the virtual platform.
So grant 712 South 32nd Street. The amount that was presented on the first showed a completed amount. However, we did talk about a certain amount being pulled back for others to apply within the city. Has that been changed in your presentation?
I know that the application process is also being revamped. So whenever that's done, that amount of money will be identified. We'll have all that done about the same time, after October 1st.
So everything that was presented July 1, 736,651 is going to be approved, if approved today, as presented from July 1.
Nancy, would you please? Putting you on the spot again.
So this is actually allocating our FY22 funding from HUD, from CDBG, and it's 600 and get the exact amount. Yes, 626 or 606,562. So that's what this annual action plan will address. And the additional funding that you saw in the public meeting that we had, that's what we're reallocating from previous years. And it comes to 130,000 and some change. Yes, 130,000,
Which is the total,
$89.
the total of 736.
Yes, ma'am.
651.
Yes, ma'am.
So 606 in fiscal year 22 and 130 of reallocation from previous years.
Yes, sir.
And
Anything
in
else?
October, and in October, you're gonna pull some money from somewhere for reissuing a new grant.
Yes, that will
CDBG
be essentially the $130,089. Will be what we use for the public service agency grant.
Look forward to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, very good. Then at this time, I'll close. Oh, I'm sorry, Sanjay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Dr. Sanjanet Crossley from Temple, Texas, 5102 Sturbridge Drive. And I just stood up to thank, again, all the efforts of everyone involved with the community block grant funds and how they're allocated. Our organization is over 20 years old, 21 years old. We've been involved in making sure that things happen in East Temple since 1990. And the funds that have been allocated most recently will help with the effort to change that community in a grand way, not for us as an organization or as individuals, but for the people group that happen to be from the east side or any part of Temple that will benefit from coming to the enrichment center that we're asking to have developed, which will be a conduit to many programs coming, not just about us, but of programs that can come that will empower a group of people. And so we realize that the monies have been set aside for lower and moderate income people. That's all we've ever dealt with, all we speak for, and will continue to speak for. And we thank goodness for having those funds to address that need. We're not trying to create something just for glamour. We're not trying to create something that will help us individually, but it's going to change City of Temple for the better because it's going to remove some barriers, plus give access to share your concerns. We see here tonight even that when people don't feel comfortable approaching big government like Temple, they need a voice. And sometimes they just feel better if they can talk to someone who's not afraid to come to the mic and express their concerns. We do that well, and I can brag on us since I'm one of those doing it, and it's a place of confidence and not arrogance. We do it well, we'll continue to do it well, and we will continue to speak up for those that cannot speak for themselves. Thank you for allocating monies to allow us to do that even better. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Crossley. Anyone else? All right, there being none, then I will close the public hearing. Council, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move that we approve the Community Development Block Grant for 21 and 22, their annual action plan and budget.
We have a motion by Councilmember Williams. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item number 5 passes 4 votes yay and 1 abstention. Moving on to item number 6 is a public hearing to receive a presentation by the city manager and conduct a public hearing on the proposed 2021-2022 operating budget. And item number 7 is to discuss the proposed tax rate. Item 7A is to consider adopting a resolution scheduling the public hearing on the proposed tax rate for 5 p.m. on August 5th, 2021. And item 7B reads to consider adopting a resolution scheduling the adoption of the proposed tax rate for 8:30 a.m. on August 13th, 2021. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is our first public hearing on the proposed 2022 budget, which, as council will recall and know very well, that this is that the City of Temple presents the annual budget as part of a multi-year business plan that includes our strategic plan, our financial plan, our annual budget, as well as our capital plan. The strategic plan, which sets the foundation for how we budget, because we want to make sure that we're being very intentional with our allocating of our resources, and that we're allocating our resources in a way that helps us accomplish the vision, mission, and goals that you all have set for us as an organization in support of our community. The strategic plan starts with our vision, which is Temple is a place you'll love to call home. It contains our mission of exceptional service without exception, our 5 organizational values of commitment, innovation, integrity, accountability, and collaboration, and our 5 focus areas, those being high-performing organization, communication and collaboration, which is a new focus area proposed this year, places and spaces, smart growth, and public safety. The strategic plan also sets out our 10 strategic goals. You can see there's those there on your screen. 3 of our goals relate to our focus area of being a high-performing organization. 2 of our goals, which includes a new proposed goal, relate to our new focus area of communication and collaboration. 2 of our goals relate to our focus area of beautiful spaces, or places and spaces. 2 of our goals work towards our focus area of smart growth. And our final goal is in support of our last focus area, which is public safety. So our financial plan, which is the next portion of our business plan, takes all of those goals and the initiatives and projects and programs that are proposed to implement those goals, and identifies the resources that are necessary to accomplish that. So our financial plan lays out a 7-year planning timeframe that identifies the projects and initiatives and programs that we will implement in support of the strategic plan, and identifies the resources necessary for funding those and where those resources are proposed to come from. Our 2022 proposed budget is totals a little under 216 million. It's $216,451,423. That includes all funds, including general fund, water and wastewater fund, our debt service fund, our hotel motel tax fund, our federal and state grant fund, our drainage fund, and then also reinvestment zone number 1, which, as council will recall, includes revenue from all of the taxing entities that participate in the reinvestment zone fund, and not just from the city of Temple. When you drill down to the general fund, expenditures are presented at $93,065,626. The majority of those expenses go to personnel costs. And as you've heard me say many, many times now, we are a service-based organization. What we do is provide service to our community, and our services are provided largely by our employees. So it's natural that you'll see a service-based organization have a significant component of our expenses be in employee and personnel cost. The sources of revenue include sales tax, which is our number 1 source of revenue, accounting for a little bit north of 31% of our total revenues, expected revenues. Ad valorem, or property taxes, account for 21.47% of our projected revenue, followed by solid waste revenues at 15.74%. Our estimated property tax rate for the upcoming fiscal year is 64.25 cents, which is a reduction of 1 cent from the current tax rate. I will stress that this is an estimated property tax rate that's based on an estimated or preliminary certified or preliminary value. We will not receive our certified tax roll until a few weeks from now, in which case we can finalize the proposed tax rate. But we believe that it won't be any higher than 64.25% to support the budget that is proposed. We are proposing an increase in solid waste rates in the general fund as well. You can see there on the chart where Temple falls in comparison to our peer cities with the new proposed rates. We do provide recycling service as part of those rates, bulk and brush pickup twice per month as part of those rates, as well as weekly garbage service. In looking at the water and wastewater fund, you see revenues and expenditures presented at $46,667,145. Much of that is in operations, and capital also plays a part, as well as personnel and debt service. Our revenues from water and wastewater are largely from our rates, both our water and wastewater rates, with a little bit of a minor amount of other sources. So the vast majority of revenues for our water and wastewater fund come from our rates. We are proposing an adjustment in rates, both on water and wastewater for fiscal year 2021. You can see there on the chart where Temple falls with the new proposed rates based on where our neighboring and nearby cities are on their rates. I will remind council that, again, that our rates, that our water and wastewater fund is supported by our rates. We do not have impact fees like most of our other peer cities. So that's not a revenue source that we include. And so I wanted you to have that context as you're considering the rate structure that is proposed. Just a quick summary of some of the highlights from the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget. We do have recommendations for new and enhanced programming in all 5 of our focus areas. You can see some of the projects and the programs and the personnel that are recommended to come online in fiscal year 2022. You also have a robust capital program recommended. We have currently just under $350 million in active capital improvement projects at the moment. And throughout the course of the business plan, we have another $407 million in projects proposed to help support our growing community, as well as making sure that we're continuing to reinvest in the infrastructure and in the existing parts of our community as well. Again, today we're having your initial public hearing on the city's budget. And so this is the action, or that you don't have an action item related to the budget today. It's simply a public hearing. You do have action items related to the tax rate, where you will schedule the public hearing on the proposed tax rate, which is proposed for 5 p.m. on August 5th, as well as the date of adoption of the proposed tax rate, which is recommended to be scheduled at 8:30 on August 13th. August 13th is a special meeting. It's a Friday. August 5th is your regular scheduled city council meeting. So it's a Thursday. That concludes my presentation. I do have all of the slides that we've talked about before. So if you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer those. But that is an abbreviated overview of the proposed fiscal year 22 budget and associated property tax rate.
Thank you. Council, any questions? I have one, and this is putting you on the spot. Maybe somebody else will know if you don't. You showed the chart of water and wastewater charges, and you made the comment that the city of Temple doesn't have any impact fees when a number of those cities on that chart do. Can you tell the council what, whenever we talk about impact fees, what are those?
Sure.
Actually, not tell the public what those are, and if we did include water and wastewater fees, what impact would that have on construction and things like that? Because a lot of times, folks will look at a chart like this and they'll say that now the city of Temple is, water and wastewater is going up. Now we're in the upper tier of our peer cities, but no impact fees has a positive economic impact that if you calculated all those in too, I think it would again keep us down in the lower tier of our sister cities.
Yes, sir. So impact fees are charged at the construction of a new either home or business. They're to implement them. You do a study of cost of service for it's intended to cover the cost of infrastructure needed to support new development. So one way, and the way that we do an approach covering the cost of infrastructure for new development is through, again, through our water and sewer rates. Some communities choose to do that through impact fees. So
Any idea about how much that would be? How much that new homeowner, new business owner would have to pay?
So this chart shows you the different impact fees in our peer cities. Bryan and Temple are the only ones that don't currently have impact fees. So if you were building a single family home with a 3/4 inch meter, which is typically how impact fees are charged based on meter size, and 3/4 inch is the typical residential service. So you would see that, for example, in Pflugerville at the high end, a developer would pay just under $8,000 for a water impact fee and just about that same amount for wastewater. On the low end, I believe Colleen is more along the lines of $500 for water and $350, if my memory serves correctly, but those might not be the exact numbers. So they can range, they can vary significantly and are based on your proposed capital program to serve the developments that you're anticipating needing to serve, and that the impact fee is based on covering the cost of that service. On the commercial side, this example is based on a 2-inch meter, which is commercial meters can range from 1 inch to 10 inches. So 2 inches is pretty common. It's what we usually base our comparisons on. So this is a 2-inch meter. And again, you can see Pflugerville there is at the high end with looks like probably about somewhere between $50,000 and $55,000 that business would have to pay at permitting for water, and looks like a little bit more, maybe around the same amount for wastewater. And then Colleen again is on the low end of that with, it looks like maybe around just shy of 10,000 for the two combination. And I do have specific numbers that I can forward you that are supported by this graph. I did run a comparison. I took Round Rock's numbers, their impact fee schedule, and I pulled all of our meters from 2020, fiscal year 2020. And if you applied Round Rock's impact fee schedule to the actual meters we set in 2020, it would have been about $11.2 million in revenue. And so if you remember, if you look at our water and wastewater fund at about 46 million total, it's a significant percentage. That's a one-time fee though, and can your consideration is balancing construction costs and development costs and keeping your community affordable from a housing standpoint. And so really my point in presenting this to you is just to provide you some context that while we are on the we're not at the top still, but we're on the upper half of the chart there. We don't have any associated impact fees like these other communities also have. So that just to provide that context.
Yeah.
Not suggesting that you have impact fees.
No.
I just want to show that the context of why our rates might be slightly higher than some of our peers, because we don't have that separate funding source coming in.
Well, and that was the point of my question is, we in Temple, we pride ourselves on the delivery of services, but also affordable living. And this is just one more point that Temple makes it a point, both at the council level and at the staff level, to work very hard to continue to make homeownership available to as many as possible. Because ultimately, everybody knows these costs end up being passed right on to the purchaser. So very
and
good.
I think you're still very you're still very tight there in your, if you look at those bars, you're not far off from
Right. Yep.
median.
Right, just a few bucks a month.
Maximum, as Nancy would say.
Thanks. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that analysis. Anybody else? Nothing? All right, Then at this time, I will open the public hearing on this item. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, or the one on the virtual platform. Nobody? All right, very good. Then I will close the public hearing on this item. And I will, item 6 doesn't require a vote, but item 7 does. So I will entertain a motion on item number 7.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 7, part A and B as presented by City Manager Myers.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Long, and we have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 7 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed under this section, which is called the consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the city council and may be enacted in one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from that consent agenda at the request of any council member, and that will be considered separately. During workshop, we discussed removing item L from the consent agenda just for voting purposes. So council, is there anything else that you would like to pull or further discuss? All right, there being none, then I'll entertain a motion on items 8A through 8N minus item L.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item L.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Walker. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item 8A through N minus L pass, 5 votes to 0. Item 8L reads to consider adopting a resolution authorizing the rejection of 4 bids received for the construction of the East Temple Community Enrichment Center. Any thoughts or questions on this, council? It's my understanding that all bids came in over budget, right? Okay. So I will entertain a motion on item 8L to reject the 4 bids received for the construction of the East Temple Community Enrichment Center.
I move for adoption of resolution 8L.
Second that motion.
Have a motion by Councilmember Williams. We have a second by Councilmember Walker. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Eight L passes 4 yeas, 0 noes, and 1 abstention. Moving on to the regular agenda is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a rezoning request from agriculture to planned development single family 1 with a development and site plan on 23.834 plus or minus acres located on the north side of Forester Road and approximately 500 feet south of the property addressed as 4107 West FM 93. Mr. Chandler.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. If this project sounds familiar, it's because it was recently annexed. And of course, Planning and Zoning Commission took action on this on June 21st. So just a reminder where this is located, just south of FM 93 and west of Valley Ranch and east of Central Texas Christian School. It's just over 23 acres. And so this is the third step of a multi-step process. And the first one was rezoning what was already in the city limits to retail and single family 1, the annexation by ordinance 2021-0025. And then of course, this rezoning to match what was in the city limits previously. And so this is a planned development. And so a reminder that this would include a binding site plan, which right now is proposed to be the subdivision plat. And something that you'll see in the staff recommendation, we want to clarify that that site development plan would need to come back to city council if approved. This first stage, come back to P and Z and council. More on that in a second. Subject to the plan development criteria of section 345 of the Unified Development Code, which of course was in your staff report. And something else just wanted to report as well. Of course, FM 93 is a TxDOT highway, and a development, assuming one is approved, at some point would likely trigger a traffic impact analysis by TxDOT. So that's to be determined. And so looking at the zoning map, you can see the crosshatched area, which is between ag, but property owned by Central Texas Christian School, and then other single family one to the east in the Valley Ranch subdivision. And so when you look at compliance with the 2020 comprehensive plan and the future development plan, we're showing a partial compliance. So the piece that was already in the city limits is shown as residential and neighborhood services. The area outside of the city limits, which of course is now in, was shown as rural estate. And so looking at utilities, the property does have access to an 8-inch water line and an 8-inch sewer line, as you can see on the map here. And sidewalks would be addressed at the plat stage. And just a reminder that the base zoning district, single family one, allows a minimum of 7,500 square foot lots. What is in the proposal before you is a minimum of 10,500 square foot lots. And so 36 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet. 2 notices were returned in agreement. One of those is from the property owner, so one just outside of the property, and 12 notices in disagreement. And so the calculation is at 22.9% of opposition, triggering a supermajority vote tonight, of course, which as a reminder, that means that at least four out of the 5 of you would have to vote for approval for this to pass. And of course, the newspaper printed notice on June 27th. And so we're, in terms of the PD compliance summary, we're showing all as compliant except for future development plan, which reminder, we're showing those partial. So staff recommends approval per the following conditions. Base zoning, single family one standards would apply with the exception of a 10,500 square foot lot minimum. The streets would be constructed with a minimum of 50 feet of right of way, because there was some discussion about whether to allow a rural cross section. Staff is not recommending that. The applicant's in agreement, so we just want to put that in there. And then the last one, just clarifying that the site development plan, which is proposed to be the plat, but could come back for P&Z and council review as part of the zoning stage. So different set of standards evaluating compliance with PD criteria as opposed to the plat, which is a ministerial process, as you know, and just essentially check all the boxes, but that way you can consider other criteria as well. And so at their June 21st meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, but by a vote of 4-3. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Council?
Mr. Chandler, go back to the requirements, the other conditions.
Conditions, yes, sir.
Explain number 2 to me. Lots cannot be less than 10.5, but it has to average 12,000 overall.
That's right. So this
Larger
is something
lots
that,
and
in
portions
working
of-
with the developer, that they may be larger when they
Yeah.
come back, because once drainage is addressed, traffic impact analysis, if that's triggered, by TxDOT, but at least at a minimum to say the smallest lot could not be any smaller than 10,500 feet. And the average of all those lots couldn't be less than 12,000. That's what that indicates.
And this condition raises it from what is accepted at
7,500, yes, sir.
to 10,500.
Yes, sir. And the 12,000 would be more consistent with the adjacent phase of Valley Ranch.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I was trying to do the math and it didn't work.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Ryan, could you go back to, or forward, I believe, to the slide showing the notices that were sent out?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure.
And this is what triggers the supermajority vote.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that numbers, that the issues with the disagreements were traffic and drainage predominantly.
Those are the issues that
Right.
we've heard too. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to just make the note that the city is working with TxDOT. We're in communication with them, not specifically on this, but in general about 93. We fully understand that the community is concerned about 93 with traffic. We're also have drainage studies underway. Beyond that, we know that every time we're faced with looking at developing property that has been empty and a developer wants to develop, the abutters are unhappy because they like the empty land. We can't do anything, we as a city can't do anything about that other than deal with all of the planning issues that we have on the books. I just want to make that point because we continuously, residents don't understand why we can't just say you can't put anything there. We can't because somebody privately owns it, and we're doing everything we can within the category, the planning ordinances that you have. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? All right. This item is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item may do so. We ask that you step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, or raise your hand on the virtual platform. None as of yet. Okay. Still nothing? Okay, thank you. All right, there being no one wishing to speak at the public hearing, I'll now close that public hearing. Council, any questions or comments before we move on? All right, there being none, I will entertain a motion on item number 9.
Make a motion for approval as presented.
That motion.
Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Judy Morales. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would, please cast your vote. Item number 9 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item number 10 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance approving a rezoning request on 23.36 plus or minus acres at Lowe's Drive and Azalea Drive for multifamily 2 to planned development with multifamily 3 in commercial zoning districts. Address is 3401 and 3402 Lowe's Drive. Mr. Chandler.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. And coincidentally, this is another planned development with about 23 acres. Also in South Temple, you can see on the map where this is proposed to be located, mostly at the southeast corner of Azalea and Lowe's Drive, but it does include a tract on the west side of Lowe's Drive as well. And so here is just a concept site development plan that the applicant was working on. And so in the blue, you can see that's proposed multifamily. Right now, that's a 3-story proposal. And the green is proposed retail. And I'd like to note that originally the applicant requested commercial zoning for the green. We worked with the applicant to get agreement for general retail, which we thought was more appropriate for that corridor. But it was after the notice, and so the notice reflects commercial, but they're in agreement for general retail. And then also just noting a drainage channel through the multifamily, the blue area, kind of roughly following Lowe's alignment. And that final designs would require approval of an updated site plan, and per the PD requirements would come back to City Council with a recommendation from P&Z. So future land use map, I think it's important to note that this is also included within the general mixed use activity center area for the mall because of its proximity to the mall. And just a reminder that includes a recommendation, the comp plan for higher development standards and a mix of uses, even allowing some higher density, but additional landscaping, architectural standards, hike and bike connectivity, those kind of features. But also there's an underlying regional commercial on the west side. So the tract of land, kind of the triangular, I believe that's 3401 Lowe's Drive is within that designation. And so thoroughfare map and trails plan, just important to note that both Azalea and Lowe's are community collectors. And so this proposal is certainly appropriate for our comp plan on community collectors. And so just a couple of photos for you. This is looking really northeast from Lowe's towards Azalea across the property. And this is looking south. So across Lowe's towards the property. And so 25 notices were sent out to property owners within 200 feet, 0 in disagreement, 2 in agreement. And those are from the other side of Azalea. And so staff is recommending approval with the following conditions: substantial compliance with the site development plan that would come back to you all. The areas shown as commercial would be general retail, that the MF3 and general retail development standards would apply, approval of the detailed site development plan, of course, returning to P&Z and council, sidewalks along Lowe's Drive, as well as a sidewalk connecting from the multifamily to Azalea, providing some of that needed connectivity that is a good idea in all development, especially in an activity center. And then lastly, decorative perimeter fencing around the multifamily. And just comp plan compliance summary. So staff is recommending approval for those conditions. Planning and zoning recommended 8-0 at their July 6th meeting for approval per staff's recommendation. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chandler. Council?
Mr. Chandler, does the drainage through the multifamily portion, does that follow the current creek that goes through there, the current drainage?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I defer to our city engineer as to whether technically it's a creek, but yes, that's
Occasionally it has water in it. in
It's
Texas,
what
that makes
you
it-
and I look at it and think that's a creek.
That's or a creek, whatever you want to say. Right. Thank you.
Anything else other than discussing waterways?
Waterways and byways.
All right. Item 10 is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. I feel obligated to say that every time, even though no one ever stands there. Nothing? Okay, thank you. There being none, I will close this public hearing. And council, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion on item number 10.
Make a motion to approve item number 10 for staff's recommendations.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember Walker, a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would please cast your vote. Item 10 passes 5 votes to 0. Moving on to item number 11 is consider adopting a resolution appointing one member to fill a vacancy on the tax increment financing reinvestment zone number 1 board for an unexpired term ending September of 2022. A member of the reinvestment zone the reinvestment zone has experienced some health issues and is needing to step down. And I would like to, can I make a nomination, Catherine? I would like to nominate based on, I would like to nominate Lester Fettig to fill this position, this unexpired term. Mr. Fettig has been on a number of our boards and commissions before, longtime community member. And it's my opinion that Mr. Fettig would fit well onto the RZ and is qualified to sit in that position. Obviously, if anyone else has any other ideas, that would be fine, but that would be my recommendation.
I'd just like to say he's an excellent recommendation. He's been a good, very, very good planning chairperson, I believe is the correct term.
Mayor and council, Mr. Fettig is already on 2 other boards. He is going to, his term on Planning and Zoning Commission ends in September and he's going to term out. He is not eligible for reappointment. So if you could provide staff some guidance on whether, as you know, your policy requires that only someone serve on 2 boards at a time and that they automatically forfeit a board if they get appointed to 3. You, in your recent appointments, you've made a few exceptions to get people to, the end of their current term. So if you could provide some direction to staff on whether your intention is that he forfeits his term on P and Z immediately or he serves till the end of his current term, I would appreciate it.
Sure. I've spoken with Mr. Fettig and he is willing to continue his term just because it's a couple of months and continue and serve on 3 boards. But if not, he would be willing to resign from one of the others to fill this seat. Council, y'all have any other suggestions or y'all satisfied with that?
I'm perfectly in line with Lester Fettig doing that. He does a great job. I agree, let him stay on P and Z until the end of the term in September.
Thank you.
But I would like to make one comment about the gentleman who's replacing.
Yes.
John Mayo has done a great job for the city of Temple in his term, not only in P and Z, but other things he's done for the city. And we all want to wish him the best and say the good things for his wife, who's really been with him all through this. And we wish John all the best and thank him for his efforts. So if you made a motion.
Can't make a motion. I made a nomination.
You made a nomination. Well, I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
There's a song about that, isn't there? All right. So we have a motion on item number 11, which is to appoint Lester Fettig to the unexpired term on the reinvestment zone by Councilmember Williams. We have a second by Councilmember Long. Council, if you would please cast your vote. Item number 11 passes 5 votes to 0. Thank you all for attending tonight, and this meeting is adjourned.